Welcome back to the GSMC Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Lapidus. Today, joined by Nolan and Jake. If you were just tuning in, we just finished going over Game 3 of the NBA Finals, tipping off any minute now here. They're always a little bit late to their tip-offs, but it should be a fun Game 3, 2-1 in the room here in favor of the Oklahoma City Thunder, taking a 2-1 series lead. In this segment, we're going to turn our attention to football. Minicamp has started, and one of the big stories of the offseason yet again was Aaron Rodgers. A new report coming out from ESPN's Adam Schefter says that he was the third quarterback, not the second, not the first, the third quarterback on the mind of the Pittsburgh Steelers. We'll talk about what that means for the future and the fact that they're kind of stuck with him now, what that looks like going into this season. But before we do, remember, if you would like to be an even bigger part of the show than you already are, all you need to do is go to gsmcpodcast.net. Or if you're on YouTube, you can use that super chat feature. If you do either of those two things, a message should pop up on the bottom of the screen for you, me, and everybody else around the world to see. If you do have a burning question about sports, anything at all that you would like to ask, go ahead and throw that in the comments. Throw it in the chat. I will get to it as soon as I possibly can. I appreciate everybody so much for sticking around, talking some sports with me here on a beautiful Tuesday, June 10th. But like I was saying, we are going to get into a little bit under the hood of Aaron Rodgers. The big story coming out recently is a report from Adam Schefter. Aaron Rodgers was the Steelers' third choice behind not only Matthew Stafford, which makes perfect sense to me, if we're being completely honest. Matthew Stafford is a better quarterback right now than Aaron Rodgers is, but also behind Justin Fields. And this one, I think, is a little bit more interesting. Justin Fields was already in the building. It seemed like they preferred Russell Wilson to Justin Fields in a lot of the reporting. Now it's coming out that they wanted Justin Fields the whole time, and it sounds like Russell Wilson wasn't even on their radar. At least he was lower down than Aaron Rodgers. This feels a lot different than the reporting was to me. Am I way off on that? What is your take on this report coming out, Nolan?
I think that what the Steelers were doing, they honestly should have pursued Stafford or kept Fields. I think both of those options would have been a lot better than getting Rodgers. I don't really like Aaron Rodgers. Not only did he play for Green Bay, the Lions rival, I think he's a stuck up, he's an egotistical maniac, and I just don't like him. I think he's a complete locker room toxin, cancer. I think he's just the worst person to have on your team. He's, four-time MVP, Super Bowl champ. He's not a bad quarterback. I think he's a bad dude. Matthew Stafford is so much better than he is. Honestly, not all the time. But right now, I would much rather have Matthew Stafford on my team rather than Aaron Rodgers. I think anyone in the NFL would say that. I think anybody with a brain could honestly see that. He has better weapons. Not only he would be a great quarterback for Steelers now. They just got DK Metcalf. They have, a great tight end in Pat Freiermuth. So he could be a great weapon over there. And he was able to do a lot with Cup and obviously Stafford. But I think he could really fit the Steelers' room right now. But even if they didn't get him, they could have stuck with Justin Fields. Justin Fields had a great record too when he started last year with the Steelers. Great record. He's a good quarterback. He fit the system well. He had a lot of talent. He had a decent amount of talent around him where he could have succeeded. But they decided really not to utilize him as much as I honestly thought they were going to. And I think that they kind of wasted him there. I wouldn't say waste him, but I thought he was going to be used a lot more than Russell Wilson. I really thought they were going to, but they proved me wrong. But if I'm the Steelers, I would have kept him around rather than getting, Aaron Rodgers. I think, like I said, I just don't like Aaron Rodgers quarterback for the Steelers right now than Aaron Rodgers will be this season.
Yeah, Jake, very similar question to you. We went over the reporting that came out here, but it was, again, just kind of weird to me based on how the offseason went for the Steelers. Does this report make sense? And do you really buy this from Adam Schefter about the Steelers?
Honestly, everything else that's come out of Pittsburgh this offseason kind of sounds like this isn't the case. It sounded like they did like Russell Wilson more. You saw when Russ was hurt at the beginning of the year, yes, you saw Justin Fields start, but then when Russell Wilson's healthy, Russell Wilson takes over as a starter last year for the Steelers. I do think it's a little interesting that it sounds like they preferred Justin Fields, just because to me it seems like if they did really prefer Justin Fields, you already had him in your room. Why would you even let him get out of Pittsburgh, right? Why would you even let him get to free agency? You re-sign him to a 1, even a 2-year extension where it's kind of built into basically a 1-year deal. I just think it makes a lot of sense. So if that really was the case, why did you not just re-sign Justin Fields right at the start of the offseason rather than letting him walk to the New York Jets? Um, I don't know if that's really the case because it honestly kind of seems like this was always pointing towards Aaron Rodgers. Everything we heard from Pittsburgh was Aaron Rodgers, Aaron Rodgers, Aaron Rodgers. And I just don't know if he really was their third choice. I mean, it makes sense from an organizational standpoint. I certainly would have had Aaron Rodgers as my third choice there. But I don't know. From everything we're hearing, I don't know if that really was the case for the Steelers this offseason.
Yeah, it's a very interesting case because of all of the rumors that they were involved in, right? You had the Matthew Stafford rumor, which, of course, Matthew Stafford, number one option if he was available, but I doubt he ever truly was available on the market. The Rams were always going to sign him back, and they were never really going to let him leave. Justin Fields, you make an excellent point there, that he was already in the building, and same thing with Russell Wilson. I know that the owner came out saying that they wanted to sign one of the two of them. Justin Fields made more sense as the younger quarterback. I know they seem to have preferred, based on their actions in the middle of the season, Russell Wilson, but they did not seem super interested in signing him. Aaron Rodgers was kind of just the last one there. And it's not necessarily like he's the worst quarterback in the league right now. He comes in, he probably slots in somewhere around the 18 to 22 range in quarterbacks, just off the top of my head here. But there are a lot of ways that this could go badly. Nolan, you brought up the fact that he has become this kind of locker room cancer, this detriment to have on your team because of his off the field issues. That could very well have pushed him down on the list, aside on top of the fact that he is going to be 42 years old. We talked a little bit about how this fit looks, but is this report to me is kind of shocking that it even came out, that the Steelers allowed it to come out. Such a good organization allowed them to kind of trash who their guy is, right? What does this mean? How much confidence do you really think the Steelers have in Aaron Rodgers? And is there a possibility that if he doesn't play well, he gets benched for a guy like Mason Rudolph, or even the sixth rounder that they drafted out of Ohio State?
I mean, honestly, I was talking to a few of my friends who are from Pittsburgh who are Steelers fans. They have confidence in Aaron Rodgers. Do the Steelers? I really don't think they do. I think they just signed him to sign him because they needed a legit quarterback who they think can start. I just don't think Mason Rudolph is gonna. I don't think he's starter material. Will Howard, he could be, but he needs to build up some. He needs to build up NFL skill. He just got drafted, won a championship in college. Congrats to him. But he's no NFL starting quarterback, not at all. He had some of the best weapons on the offense side of the ball in college football last year, especially just Jeremiah Smith. But I mean, they need a legit quarterback, and the Steelers, they honestly just took the best guy available, who were obviously Aaron Rodgers. I don't like him, but he is a good quarterback. He's a 4-time MVP. He has a Super Bowl ring. I mean, you can't deny the fact he's a great quarterback, but he's getting pretty old. He's 42. The past few years, he's kind of dwindled in his skill. He still makes a lot of good plays. Don't get me wrong, but it's not like he used to be in Green Bay. He should have never left Green Bay. He should have never left. Him going to the Jets is probably one of the worst things that happened to his career and to his name. Honestly, he just the darkness is street. That was honestly the biggest thing that made me stop liking him, and that was him going to the Jets. I feel like if he was still, maybe in Green Bay, something like that maybe wouldn't have happened, but who knows? But if I'm the Steelers, honestly, I really don't have too much faith in him. He could, look at him, his past, and think, yeah, maybe he does have a good future here. But me personally, I just don't think he has a good future there. I don't think he'll do well. He is a decent, some offensive around him. He's got some good offensive weapons. He's got a decent line, so he could succeed. but I kind of hope he doesn't, so he just retires sooner. But I think I just don't think he'll be. I don't think he'll be what everybody's making him out to be. Just some great quarterback who can come out of nowhere. He's had a good few years, but I think after this year, if he does slightly bad, I think he's gonna hang it up. But I kind of hope he does.
Kind of piggybacking off of that, what you said here, where you're not sure how great of a year, how great of a fit it's going to be. We've had a lot of discussions here in the past year, just in general, about the state of safety of Coach Mike Tomlin over there. Like, how hot of a seat is he really on? Because you ask some Steelers fans, they want him out of there right now. You ask some Steelers fan, they say he is doing a good job, right? It's kind of become a state of mediocrity that people are pissed off with, and you can't really be too mad at Steelers fans for feeling that way. They haven't won a playoff game in over 10 seasons, right? They've been just barely good enough to scratch the playoffs in most of those years, but it's never really felt like that team is a true contender. If Aaron Rodgers flames out here, how much longer does that Mike Tomlin regime have? How hot of a seat, Jake, is he really on?
I think it's hotter than it should be, and I will say I am very much against the fire Mike Tomlin train. I just think this guy's never had a losing season as a head coach in the NFL. Over 20 years. We do forget this. I mean, but I can understand part of the argument where there kind of seems to be a ceiling on all of these Steelers teams of the first, maybe the second round of the playoffs. And frankly, it kind of seems that it's very possible that Aaron Rodgers does flame out in 2025 with Pittsburgh. I just don't know. Will we ever really truly see Pittsburgh buy into a full rebuild, re-tear, and completely just tearing the team down to its nuts and bolts? I just don't know if I can see that from the Steelers franchise.
I think the only way that happens is if, again, you need Hayward to retire. You're still going to have your guys on defense. TJ Watt, he's holding out for a contract right now, but he'll get his contract. Aaron Rodgers needs to truly and spectacularly flame out, because they would have to fire Mike Tomlin, and that is going to be that straw that breaks the camel's back. I think as long as Mike Tomlin is there, they're never truly going to bottom out. They need to say, this is a new era with a new coach, and we're going to start fresh. I just don't see that happening under Mike Tomlin, which is why I think it'd be best for his career and for the Steelers, honestly, to move off of him, find another place, kind of like Andy Reid with the Eagles, right? I mean, he was labeled as a playoff choker. He was labeled as a guy that could not win the big game, someone that just failed to get it done in Philly, and now look at him, one of the greatest coaches of all time, coach and bringer up of a dynasty with Patrick Mahomes. Players make a big difference, and sometimes just a change of scenery can do wonders for both the Steelers and for Mike Tomlin.
That's a great example, is Andy Reid, where honestly, kind of similar to just a guy losing his voice in that locker room over time, right? Didn't have success in Philly, but kind of just after year of disappointment, right? It seemed like it had run its course, that relationship. It kind of almost feels like the same thing with Mike Tomlin in Pittsburgh here, where it kind of seems like we're at the end of this relationship. It's kind of ran the duration of its course. We'll see if, I don't know how bad Pittsburgh's really truly going to be this year. And while we're still on Pittsburgh, you brought up TJ Watt. Just for speculation's sake, what happens if TJ Watt does not get his contract? And if they do somehow have to move off of TJ Watt?
They move off of TJ Watt, this team is immediately tanking, right? You're going to trade him if you're not going to sign him, right? That's the only two options. You're not letting him walk for nothing. But you get that. You get a nice little start with some teams. There are plenty of teams that could use a good pass rusher like TJ Watt, and even teams that don't need a pass rusher would kill to have a guy like TJ Watt on their roster. If they're unable to, I think that is the other thing that could trigger the rebuild. Him or Mike Tomlin need to go, and once one of those pieces fall, it's just gonna fall down like a big like a stack of cards, right? House of cards right there. It's just you pull the wrong one, and everything's come crashing down in Pittsburgh. It's a really delicate situation over there, but I think you're right. I think it's about time it's run its course, but we will see, because maybe we've got another year or two of Mike Tomlin if Aaron Rodgers can resurrect himself and become that not MVP level guy, but top 15 level quarterback that we all know he is capable of being. But outside of that, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we turn our attention back to the world of basketball. It's kind of gone under the radar a little bit, but the Knicks, they still need a new head coach. There's been a couple of names that have come in or fallen out of the race. We'll talk about each of those coming up next here on the GSMC Sports Podcast.